the Iconists. We are here today with Valerie Heckman. She is a product specialist with Intuit, and she's going to be showing us around some of the recent changes to QuickBooks Online. So I don't know if you guys know much about QBOchat. We're a weekly Twitter chat for the QuickBooks Online user community. We also have a website, QBOchat.com, so that you can get information there about different things that are going on in our community. So before we get too into the webinar, and while other people are joining, I wanted to start off with a couple of polls. So the first one I'm going to throw up there now is, what best describes your role? So if you can take a minute and answer that, we can get a better idea of who all is on the webinar with us today. Okay, we have about 72%, 78% voted. Let's get a few more in. Okay. Let me close this. So looking at the results, we have 63% of you guys are QuickBooks Pro Advisors. We have 6% that are not Pro Advisors or bookkeepers. We have some small business owners, and we have some third-party developers or representatives on the call. So that's great. The next poll I have for you is, how long have you been using QuickBooks Online? Okay, we're in at 79% voted. If we could get a couple more people voting. Again, we have this poll up, so if you could answer the question of, how long have you been using QuickBooks Online? And I will close that now. Share the results. A few of you haven't even started using QuickBooks Online yet. It looks like we have a pretty good split, Valerie, between less than a year, 1 to 2 years, and 3 to 5 years. I don't know if there's anyone that's over 5 years. I'll say that I'm over 5 years of using QuickBooks Online. So yeah, we got a good split here. And one last question before we get going is, have you ever participated in QBOchat, or Twitter chat that we have every week? Okay, a few more seconds. I'm going to close out the poll, share our results. So some of you don't even use Twitter. Some don't know what a Twitter chat is. So for those that don't, it's a weekly kind of hangout on Twitter that we have. It's an hour long, and we discuss a topic that we pick out, and then there's questions shared, and you can share your answers or share other content that you have around. And for those that haven't joined in yet, feel free to come and join us. It's every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. We have a few regulars on here, so that's great to see.
There's a huge percentage of people who have seen the tweets but haven't joined in. I'm hoping that some of you are inspired to join us in our conversation if you're reading the tweets, because it's fun. We're a fun group to be around. I try to join as often as I can.
Yeah, it's a fun experience if you've ever been on a Twitter chat. So I would give it a shot if you haven't done it yet. We're around, like I said, every Thursday. So I'm about to hand it over to Valerie, but I want to let you know that my name's Kathy Iconis. I'm the founder of QBOchat. I also have my own firm, Iconis Group. We do outsourced bookkeeping for small businesses. And I will be manning the questions along the way here so that Valerie doesn't get all overwhelmed. But I wanted to share that you can also tweet your questions and comments on Twitter. It really helps the audience. It helps your actual presence on Twitter if you share some of the great content that you're learning. Just make sure to use the hashtag QBOchat in your tweet. That way I can track it and pick up any questions that you guys might have. So with that, I need to go over here and I'm going to change the presenter to Valerie. And then she will have the opportunity to take it over from there.
All right, perfect. Let me know when you're seeing that, Kathy.
I see it. It looks good.
Excellent. Well, thank you for having me as your first guest as you kick off these webinars. I'm excited that QBOchat community is expanding out and really appreciate being a part of it. So I wanted to talk through some updates around QuickBooks Online. So for those of you that are brand new to it, hopefully this won't go over your head. I'll try to slow myself down a little and not just speak to the people who have been using QBO for a long time, but we've got a lot of really great things going on just to kind of show you what the topics are that we're walking through. I'm going to go through the new look and feel. We've had some updates that you may or may not have seen yet. We'll talk through what those are. Talk about what's new in inventory, a lot of things around sales transactions and invoicing, what's new in QuickBooks Labs around reconciliation, and close out with some mobile updates. And I might throw a few other things in as we go along, especially if there's questions around different areas. But we'll mostly be sticking to these topics today. And when I say recent, I'm kind of going back over the last several months. So this isn't all recent as of the last couple of weeks. Some of them are older, but hey, you may not have seen it, so I want to draw some attention to it, especially things that are really exciting. So to start out, I'm actually going to use a few screenshots, but I'll show this in product as well. We've made a few updates to the look and feel of QuickBooks Online for accountants and QuickBooks Online itself. There's not a whole lot to say here, but I did want to draw attention to a couple of areas. The biggest thing is the color and the fonts. So we've really been working to streamline QBO and really draw attention to the things that are going to matter the most to you, make it cleaner, make it easier for anybody who's in the account to walk through. What we've also been working towards is continuity between our different products. So if you've got clients that are using QuickBooks Self-Employed, maybe you or your clients are using Mint.com for personal finances, whatever Intuit products you kind of have landed into, we're hoping to eventually, as we move forward with some enhancements, make it really easy to just pick up and use any of our products and know your way around. So I'm really excited about that. A lot around clean navigation. So, and I realized my screenshot dropped down here, didn't it? Hold on a second, let me get that back. Cleaning up the navigation, having this lighter background, not a bunch of icons. When there is color, it's really to draw your attention to specific areas. Same goes when you get into the new dashboard design. We've really improved the way that the dashboard is laid out. If your client is brand new to QuickBooks Online, we give some in-product guidance to guide you through setting up. You'll notice here in this one, starting invoicing, seeing how much you're making. Kind of dependent on how they answer things during setup, they might get some additional steps around setting up QuickBooks payments, setting up sales tax. My favorite is that third one. I know it's kind of small, but getting set up by a pro. We were able to go into the Find a Pro Advisor directory, so I'll show you that in product here in a second. And then as we move down, surfacing a lot more information around the P&L. If you're using the banking feeds, which I certainly encourage with QuickBooks Online, we're showing what's available to review, what's been added in, so you get that real-time feel of the income and expenses. So let me actually, I'm going to pop
Valerie,
into
one question has come in so far.
Sure.
Is that For a pro advisor that has a whole bunch of clients, you have that dialog box on the new look and feel when it comes up. Is there a way to make that stop, or do they just have to X
No,
out
it's
of
a,
it each time?
I don't think that's going to be there very long. I think we've just got a lot of excitement around the new look and feel, and a lot of people close those without even realizing it. They're just kind of click happy and go through. But I know what you're saying. It can get maybe a little obnoxious after a while, perhaps. But we really want to make sure we're getting the word out so that people don't sign in. Yesterday in chat, somebody mentioned their client signed in and said, "Oh no, it's broken. What happened? What did I do? How did I change it?" So we really want to make sure everybody's getting the news, especially those that maybe don't sign in very
Is there
often.
is there some sort of cookie or whatever if you do X out of it or whatever that it would remember it the next time you log in?
I don't believe so. I'm not
Okay.
sure actually. There might be, but not 100% sure. I've noticed it's popped up for me every time, so I don't think so. But
Okay. Well,
anyway, good question.
yay.
Great question. I wish I
Okay.
knew. So if you don't have the new look and feel or you want to see it, if you Google QBO test drive, and maybe Kathy can even put the link to the test drive in the chat, you can kind of get a feel for what it looks like if you haven't gotten the update yet. But we're rolling it out to everybody, so if you haven't gotten it yet, you should very soon. We've got 1.6 million subscribers on QuickBooks Online, so if we change everything on everyone overnight, we'll get a lot of phone calls, I'm sure. So they kind of roll that out in stages. But I really love this initial, if you're brand new, account. We guide you through connecting, reviewing transactions, seeing profits, invoicing, getting set up by a pro. So for those of you that are accountants and you're using QuickBooks Online Accountant or accounting pros, best place to set up your new clients is through QBOA, because then you're able to offer them the best pricing and make sure that your users all get set up from the get-go. But if they haven't done that, if you haven't set it up for them, your client went out and got QuickBooks Online themselves, we're guiding them through inviting you in. And then in the event that a small business isn't working with an accounting professional, we encourage finding a pro to help. So we're really doing a lot, and you'll see more and more of this with QuickBooks, of guiding those small businesses that aren't working with someone already to find a professional to help them. So if I do a search here, let's see, I'm lawn care, I believe. Hey, look at, there's Kathy. So I could see some information around her, open up her profile. If you haven't filled out your ProAdvisor profile, certainly encourage you to go through and do that. We've got some updates to that too that give you more visibility around prospective leads. So a couple other things on the homepage. Made some enhancements down here below to what's surfacing. I think it's a lot cleaner and sort of easier to really get the idea of the health of your business as you're moving through the account. You'll notice if you are using the banking transactions, so you're a little bit more surfaced on what to review, but the income, the profit and loss bars, income and expenses, will show you how many you have left to review and what's been reviewed so far. So you get a bit more of a real-time view of what's going on, and then just some improvements to seeing the income and expenses and sales broken out, and you can sort all of these by time periods too and drill into individual areas. Another thing to keep in mind with this update is the Quick Create menu that used to be right here. There used to be a plus up at the top, has moved over a little bit to the side so that it's right there with the gear and the search, kind of putting everything all in one spot, which isn't a huge change, but I rather like kind of having these all in a row. All right, I'm going to come out of this sample company and go into one of my clients, and we'll take a look at some inventory updates. Were there any questions on the look and feel stuff, Kathy, other than being annoyed by the box?
Someone did ask, is there a way to adjust the layout of the dashboard on the homepage? I was thinking no, but that they should definitely provide that feedback in the product.
That is great feedback. I've heard that we might do some things around that, especially based off of some of the questions that are answered during setup. But yeah, I don't know if there's plans to have it be totally customizable and move things around, but that is certainly a great suggestion and one I hear pretty often. So I will pass that along where I can too.
And where's the, can you just show the feedback area really quick in QBO?
Oh yeah, so if you go to the gear, you'll see your profile with your name here. There's a feedback box. And that, I know a lot of software has it, and you wonder if that ever gets looked at, but we've got whole teams of people that are voice of the customer that go through that feedback and, you know, do all the data aggregations around it and figure out what we should do next. So definitely leave your thoughts and feedback in that box. So eventually, see how it's happened with me, eventually that green box that's been popping up just moves up here where you can sort of see and get a bit more information around our changes. So something to keep in mind here too. All right, so inventory updates. We had quite a bit going on over the summer around inventory. We added the ability to categories, to add SKUs, and then a little while back we added bundles. So I can get to my inventory or my products and services through the gear, products and services list. I can go to all lists and get there that way. I'll get to this up top in a moment here, but I wanted to start off with bundles. So bundles are similar to group in desktop. So if you're familiar with groups in desktop, it's the same kind of concept. It basically allows you to bundle and easily add multiple items to a transaction. So you can, if you're selling sports uniforms, you can put baseball hat, baseball shirt, and baseball pants all together and sell that as a set, essentially. Bundles can be given a name, a SKU, sales information, but they're different than an assembly. So we're not building something new from parts. We're basically just taking individual items and putting them together. There's no additional markup or a change in price for a bundle. So the total cost of the items, or the total price of the items, is the total of the bundle. And there's also no reporting around quantity of hand at the bundle level. So it's pretty high level, but it can still save you some time. So I'm in my pet store products and services list. I set up a bundle earlier to kind of show you a kitty cat starter kit. So we sell some pet supplies, and I've just gone through and set this up, but pretty straightforward. I can name the bundle. I can assign it a SKU and put a picture that represents the whole bundle of goods if I want. Also sales information, and I get to decide whether or not I want what's in the bundle to show up when I'm creating transactions, printing or sending them, or if I just want it to be grouped together into one line. So I've chosen to display the bundle components, and kind of silly, I know, but yeah, pet store, they're selling a cat condo and mouse toys and some food all together. And I can add additional goods to this. Maybe I want to add another toy here or something, and I can drag and drop these to move them around as well. So if I want to prioritize different things over others. If I click into show more, it would give me if I have any additional lines, like if I keep adding more and more things to the bundle.
And we had a question that come in. So you can also bundle services, right?
Yes, yes. So not just inventory items. I called this an inventory update, but these are really product and services items. So if I am setting up a new here, guides me through bundle collection of products and services that I sell together.
Great.
And you can combine products and services in one bundle as well.
How does that end up looking on the invoice?
Let's take a look at it. So if I create an invoice, choose a customer here. And when I go to search, so similar to when I search for a product or service, I can search by SKU, sales description, or the actual name. So here's my kitty cat starter kit. And now it's, because of the way that I set it up to begin with, where I have everything show, it lets you know it's going to see all the customer's going to see all the items in the bundle. So I've got that option when I'm setting this up of whether I want that all to come together. And then when I go to print or preview, it will show me kitty cat starter kit with all those individual items kind of indented below.
Nice.
And you'll notice that it's added all the prices together. Great question. Thank you.
That looks good. And so, yeah, when you're setting that up, you do have the option of whether they can see all the detail or just see like a summary.
Exactly. exactly.
Cool.
Cool. And then the next big update I wanted to talk about with products and services and inventory is reorder points. So you can now establish a reorder point, which is the minimum quantity of a product that you always want to have on hand. So to use that, let me clear out my filter here. When I'm setting up a product or service, or when I go into edit it, I'm telling QuickBooks how many of a particular product that I always want to have, and then when the quantity on hand drops below or to the reorder point, we are reminding you by showing you what's low in stock and what's out of stock. So the product and services list now allows you to filter that way, so I can filter down and see what's low in stock or toggle to what's out of stock. If I click the X, it just brings me back to the full list. So you'll notice that these are color-coded here, so it looks like somebody stole a baseball, I'm down one, or something, I oversold. But it tells me what my reorder point is, so let's look at the low stock ones. This is a test account, so it gets kind of wild in here. Okay, so my quantity on hand and my reorder point, we've dropped lower than the reorder point, so what I can now do is actually select multiple items, do a batch action to reorder, and that will just populate them on a purchase order for me. So they're down here. And then I can fill in how many I want. What I also like is when I'm creating a purchase order or creating an invoice, these sales forms, sales receipt or something, if I hover over, it'll show me the quantity on hand, the reorder point, and if an item is lower out of stock. So this one we're actually out, we're negative, so I could set up reordering. Here, let's take a look at that in invoicing and sales receipt here too. Here, we'll make a sales receipt.
One question I have about the images you have on inventory items, are those going to be used on invoices ever, or does that flow through? Or?
Today they don't flow through, but that's another one that I've gotten a lot of requests for. I don't know what the long-term plans around it are, but for now I think they're really helpful when you're setting up the product and services list and anybody who's going in and making updates or adjustments to that. But yeah, I totally see, seeing those same images on an invoice someday. So I hope that that's something that we end up doing. So if I add a cat condo here, and I hover over the quantity, it shows me that I'm low in stock on that, and it gives me the order point. So that kind of prevents me too from selling, 3 of these if I don't have them, unless I feel like I can reorder them and turn it around quickly or something. So
you get more of a warning instead of like an inability to do something, right?
Right. So it's kind of letting you know where you are, and then making it easier to actually go through and bulk reorder those products when you're lower out of stock on them.
Okay, we have a question that's on the reorder point. Is there a minimum order quantity in product and services?
No. So when I'm setting up a product or service, let's edit one, and going through, I've established my quantity on hand initially when I was adding this item in, and then I'm just setting up the reorder point. So there's not extra fields around a minimum quantity to order. Okay. But that's a great suggestion. So add that in the feedback box, and I'll pass it along here too. Yeah, so inventory stuff. We're working towards having parity with desktop. So I imagine that we're going to be rolling out more and more things as we move through into the new year.
Right. I mean, that's one area that
what's coming.
Is one area I've seen the most differences or the most updates to recently. So, yeah, it's definitely a big area for you guys.
Yeah. I mean, and if you missed it, when I was doing the batch actions here to reorder, we've got adjusting quantity. When we go into reporting, there's more reports around inventory now that got added over the summer, and yeah, you can, when you customize like a physical inventory report, you can see the reorder field now too. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
Great.
Very cool. All right, switching gears, let's talk about invoicing and sales transactions and some of the update there. Recurring transactions had a recent update that I'm really excited about. When you go into the gear and into your recurring transactions, now for those of you that are new, QuickBooks Online has the option of setting up transactions to happen automatically. You can either set a schedule, so I want to create an invoice on the first of the month for this customer, you know, set it up, start date, end date, all those good things. You can also just have a reminder, like a reminder to create a bill that'll show up on your homepage as a task that needs to be accomplished. Or you can just set a recurring transactions that's really just a template. So maybe you have a journal entry that's big and long and you know, well, I don't do it on exact interval. I don't want to schedule to set it up automatically. I just would like to come back and use it without having to reinvent the wheel. You can do all of that in recurring transactions. Something that's new is you have the option of duplicating, pausing, or skipping the next date, and all of those are under action. So maybe coming back to my pet store, we have monthly grooming for this particular pet. I might decide, you know, my client's saying I'm going to be out of town for a couple months with my pet. You could pause this and just say, hey, it's paused. Nothing's going to happen automatically until I go in and resume it. So, you know, for the foreseeable future, next couple of months, or maybe it's just 1 month. Hey, we're not going to use the service next month, or I don't know. I've seen people maybe use this even for, hey, we're going to give you the next one on the house or something. You can just skip next date, and you'll notice that my January 1st, or excuse me, I think I added on February 1st,
Right.
switched to March 1st.
Awesome. And
So my next date changes.
so someone's asking about customer invoicing and if they can do a recurring transaction be set up for multiple subscriptions monthly, like say 25 plus. If they're, I'm not sure if this person's talking about like having invoices for 25 different customers, because if then it's just saving a template for each customer, right?
Right, right. So if you are maybe you have like a subscription-based business that you're talking about, and you're trying to invoice out, you know, 25 and doing it, it's really when you're going through and setting up, you're setting it per customer, but that duplicate option will make that easier to go through. Because if I duplicate, I'm going to get that exact same invoice up here, and I could just change the customer, you know, and kind
Exactly.
of create one
And
down the
then
row. So
for people, you just under the template name, you could just do it and put in the customer name or something so you know which one it is that you're using.
right, yeah, you could make updates to that so that you can tell them apart. Yeah, although you do get the visibility a little bit on here around who the customer vendor is. Um, yeah, and if you're running into a lot of kind of more advanced needs for recurring transactions, there's a couple of pretty great apps out there for it. Chargeover is one that I recommend taking a look at. Um, and Invoice Sherpa is another one that's pretty popular. Those two come up quite a bit. So if you've got a lot of recurring needs that are beyond that or big bulk recurrences, keep apps in mind. Expand beyond what's in QBO itself.
We
Uh,
have another question about can recurring transactions, oops, sorry about that, be set up for prior periods?
to backdate them, no, they really are just going forward now. So if you were trying to go in and create um, like 7 months worth of bills or something, get backdating to January 1st, there's really not functionality for that at this point. My recommendation for that would be create your transaction, copy it, set the date back on the copy and save.
Yeah, and
I
just
know
do
it's
that
not
over
quite
and
as
over again.
automated, but can save you a little time. All right, anything else?
It's another question is, can you add it to a built-in calendar to set a reminder to start again?
No,
I
but
guess if
that's
you're
a great
pausing.
suggestion too. You guys are filled with awesome product suggestions. So yeah, definitely leave that feedback, and then I'll have Kathy also send me the notes from the conversation, you know, from the
Right.
questions, and I can pass those along where I can as well. So very cool.
And another question for you. We got a
Oh
whole bunch
my,
on
we're not going to
recurring.
get through everything. That's good. I'm glad everybody is involved.
When you change a price on an item, can you choose to update the price in all the recurring transactions?
Yes, you can. Let me show you that real quick. Whoops, I'm still getting used to the gear and the plus being next to each other. We'll all get used to it. It's just a little change.
Yeah, exchange
Yeah,
we
so
all have to get through.
if I were to edit this ball of yarn to be, I don't know, $6 instead of $5, and I go to save and close. Oh, you know what? It will prompt for that if it's already on a recurring transaction. I'm sorry. It doesn't if it's not listed on any, but if it is, then yes, it will ask you if you want to change the
Oh,
recurring
cool.
transactions. I apologize. Yeah, it doesn't. That ball of yarn must not be on a recurring one in my test account, but if it were, it would prompt for it. All right, let's talk about invoices and move through some of these things. I want to make sure we get through all the good stuff. We now have some contextual settings on forms. So these show up on invoices, purchase orders, expense, and time activities. What you get is a small gear in the upper right-hand corner while I have an invoice or purchase order or whatever open that will pop up a drawer so that I can make changes and customize kind of in the moment and see that. Although it does make those changes to apply going forward, why I feel it's really great is it gives you some context around those changes. So if I was creating an invoice and I realized, oh gosh, I don't have a shipping box here, I need to put shipping information in, I would have to close out of the invoice that I've already maybe started filling out, change those things in settings, and then come back in. But now I can just pop up that field, and you'll see kind of behind this what it's added in. And maybe I'm adding and removing. Maybe didn't have a discount and I needed to add it, add another custom field, whatever. I can make those changes in the moment.
Do we still have 3 custom fields or are there more now?
There are 3.
Mm-hmm.
So that also, and of course it's a little different depending on what form you're in. Purchase order doesn't have a whole lot, but there's still the 3 custom fields that I could add and remove from here. Whoops, time activity, if I come all the way out, has some options here as well. So if I want to show the service, if I want to make my time activities billable. So I've kind of checked a lot of things on, so I've got the works going on most of my transactions, but if you haven't gone through the settings or you're thinking, gosh, I wonder if it's there, that's a place to look. So I love the small gears throughout the product because anytime you see those, you're able to kind of configure whatever table or transaction you're in to perhaps fit more of your needs.
Now, and then one question came in of, do the changes stay on that customer for the next invoice?
They change the sales forms going forward. So it's just a shortcut rather than having to go all the way into account settings and open up sales forms and make the changes from there. So yes, so it does say that going forward, not just for that customer, but for everybody.
And I know you can have like several different forms, right? Several different templates.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So when you're going through custom form styles, you can set up multiple templates. I don't have a lot in this particular account, but when I do a new style, I could have, here I've got invoice 1, invoice 2, whatever. And then when I'm creating, say, an invoice, when I click on customize, this lets me choose between existing styles, edit the style I'm on, or create a new style under the customize button.
Here's a new question. Can we set up an invoice template with a different company name?
I believe so. When I go through invoice, I haven't gotten asked that in a long time.
I'm like, that's a nice little hack there.
Yeah. Well, so what I see it used for mostly is if you have multiple locations and they have different DBAs or something, like a store number or whatever next to the name. So there's been some customizations changes here too. So in content, let me see. Yeah, business name. I could, when I'm setting up my template, I could maybe we've got 3 stores and this is store 3 or something. And I could just save it on that particular template. So just, if you want to have a default and then additional templates, you want to keep that in mind. Cool. So you see one will have master and then you can create additional templates on top of that.
And someone asked, can you rename invoice 123? I guess, is that
Yeah, so you can decide what you want to call your template, and that's not going to show up on the invoice itself. Yeah. All right. Another quick thing and around sales transactions here is reminders. So in the sales settings, you can customize what your reminders say now. So what your default message is going to be. So I can choose my greetings, standard message, put some placeholders in for invoice name or company name, and I can even decide if I want a copy to be emailed to me. And then when I'm actually going into my customer list and looking at, say, my overdue invoices, I can send individual reminders, or I could grab all of these customers, do a batch action to send reminders. That should be there. Why isn't it there?
I don't know, but I did it the other day, so I know it works.
Yeah. Interesting. What does email do? Is that going to pop up? No, that's just opening an email out of my Outlook.
I think you're emailing the customers. If you, is it under transactions and do sales instead of, like because you're on the customer screen versus the sales screen, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, you know what? Let's check there because I did it before too when I was rehearsing this yesterday, making sure everything was ready to go. Interesting. Okay, so from sales, there's the send reminders. I could have sworn it was there in the customer center. Let me come back. Check. Well, you guys know there's no smoke and mirrors here.
Right.
Huh. Okay. Well, I guess that it's in the sales. I will follow up and maybe see what I can tell you about that later. But if I'm in a sales window and I choose some people, I can do a batch to send reminders. Okay. Well,
interesting little difference, nuance between customers and
I sworn that I saw it there, but
that's okay.
Yeah, but you can still send them individually from the customer page, which I think is what most people probably do anyway. But if you do want to send them a batch, there is a way to do it.
Are there any automatic reminder options?
There is not. So it is a manual reminder for overdue invoices.
Okay. But
Good
that's
question,
one where I think
suggestion.
Invoice Sherpa has done so that they will do those automatic reminders if you want to use that app.
Right, yeah. So some of the apps out there have some real great added functionality around that, and some of them will even do things like collections and all that kind of stuff. So lots of ways to expand beyond what's there. Give your customers a portal to sign in and see their own outstanding stuff. Cool. So drawers. So there's a couple updates, and you might have even saw that a little bit when I was creating transaction here before. If I go to make an invoice, it'll pop open, and I've got some filters in my drawer, so I can filter by time or expenses. If I had an open estimate in there, that would show here too as a type that I could sort by. I can sort by dates. And if I've got billable time, I can group the time by service or decide to have those billable time entries show up individually. And I can add all now too. So if I've got a bunch of billable expenses, billable time, I can add that all together. So for those that are kind of newer to this, if I added this all, it drops those transactions in for me, and then they show up as linked transactions up top. So if I was like, oh, that really shouldn't be on this particular invoice, I can remove it and it'll put it back in the drawer for me to use later. So pretty cool that it brings that all together. And then if you're using payments, and let me pull up a company that I have that's using payments. Oop, it signed me out. Give me just a second. Let me get in there again. Oh, here. You know what? Let me come back out rather than having to sign all the way back in. I've got a couple of different QBOAs that I have access to, so thanks for bearing with me for a second.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I
We tend
wonder
not.
like how many accounts you have and
Oh gosh, yeah, I've got access to a lot of different ones that myself and my colleagues have set up, but we have only a few. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. Only a few that actually have payments turned on because we don't want to actually process real money through.
right.
But we want to be able to show it, makes sense. Every once in a while I'll do a couple dollars here and there, but and they give us fake ones to try things out in, but they never are quite as good as the real thing. Okay, let me go into this client that has payments on and show you what we've got going on with that. So this was something that I got requests forever on, so I was really excited that we rolled this out. You can now accept ACH and bank transfers within QuickBooks Online on sales receipts, or when you're receiving payments, or when you're doing recurring sales receipts. So that's really cool if you do have those recurring, maybe it's a service-based business and you charge the same every month and you want to do that via ACH rather than credit card. If your payments is turned on, so if you're using QuickBooks Payments and I go to say, well here, we'll do a recurring one, recurring transactions, and I do a new sales receipt. And I know I'm kind of flying through this, so bear with me, beginners.
Yeah,
So
we
I
have
could
a lot of
create my
stuff.
template, customers, services, add all of that together. When I go to choose the payment method, I can set up new payment methods, but if I've got ACH, check, bank, whatever in here, it only shows up after you've chosen a customer. So if I choose ACH, it has a spot for me to enter the bank info now. And it lets me save that information used in the future, and it does prompt me to really protect myself as a merchant by getting signed authorization or reading out an authorization script. So it does encourage you to check off those boxes to save this information and get that going. If you're somebody who doesn't use payments already, we've done some updates to the pricing. So if you go to our website and check out payments, through drop downs through QuickBooks.intuit.com, ACH is free now. Now, if you're an existing payments user, they've got a phone number there you can call, and I believe they can switch you over. There's a few different differences to the key rates and stuff now, but if you want like the new pricing, I believe that they're able to do that. You'd have to talk to them about your individual situation, I'm sure. But yeah, it used to be 50 cents, and now it's free going forward with ACH. So pretty awesome way to get paid faster. In general, if you're using QuickBooks Payments, payments are coming through 2 times faster, which, I mean, I think as a consumer that totally makes sense. I know that if I can pay for something online, I am way more likely to do that than sending a check, or do it faster rather. Not that I don't pay my bills, but like if it's a bill I can pay online, I pay it more quickly because I get that nice email, the pay now button, and I can just put my information in and have it go through. So
Exactly.
definitely check that all out. Now, it's not just recurring, it is sales receipts in the moment. And when you're processing a payment against an invoice in the moment, it gives you those options too when you choose your bank or check to enter the bank info.
Now, and we had one question come in about if can we use that feature when paying vendors?
It's only on the customer payment side. So QuickBooks Payments and QuickBooks Online is on customer money coming in. It's not vendor money going out at this point. So
Yeah, and
I recommend taking a look at Bill.com or XT Bills for those types of needs.
then also, I know at QuickBooks Connect, they did mention that Bill.com and Intuit, they're building the integration, so it'll be in the product at some point soon, right?
Exactly, exactly. So, yeah, that's something that's being worked on now to actually be able to set up and access Bill.com right from within. And I haven't seen what exactly that'll all look like yet, but it's something to keep an eye out for. Same with T-Sheets. Those are both announced at QuickBooks Connect.
Right. And if people have payments now, do they already get the free ACH? Do they need to do anything for that?
You know what? I believe they're sending out communications. I apologize because I'm not on the payment side
Yeah.
of things, so some of that news is a bit in the dark for me. But from what I understand, the pricing isn't changing for everybody, but you can get moved to the new pricing structure if you prefer it to the old. So they've made some different adjustments. So the ACH is free, but I think the swipe rates may have gone
Change.
up, and then
Okay.
there's pro advisor discounts too for payments. So
We have someone saying
definitely.
that it is happening automatically.
Oh, is it? Okay. So I'm sorry, that's new to me, but I'm glad to hear that. So if there's questions around it, let me actually pull up the site. So if you Google QuickBooks Payments or quickbooks.intuit.com/payments, I believe it surfaces all that information now, and there's a phone number here if you've got questions there. They'd be able to take care of you on it. I don't know why this is loading kind of slowly, but maybe we'll come back to that. Maybe they're getting a lot of clicks right now. Here we go. So yeah, the pricing down below is here, and there is a phone number there, and they should have another phone number for getting set up for the first time. So you can see the difference between our QBO payment system versus the desktop, whereas they used to, I think, have the exact same rates and structures. So yeah, if you go to the website, it should answer some of those things, I believe.
Great.
All right, and then that brings us into QuickBooks Labs. I know we're running short on time, so I might take a few less questions on this, but hopefully we'll get to everything and we'll get through all the topics.
Yeah.
So if you access Reconcile either through the gear or if you're an accounting pro through your accountant toolbox, if you've turned on the change of new Reconcile in QuickBooks Labs, you'll see the updates that we're working on for that. So if I go to the gear in QuickBooks Labs, I can turn on new reconciliation. So I want to do this first before I go into Reconcile, unless you want to see the old way and compare it to the new way. So for those that are newer to this, QuickBooks Labs is a spot where we put features and functionality that we haven't fully launched yet. They're fully built and they work and you can try them out, but we do kind of, you can kind of think of them as being in beta mode. I know that kind of is a scary word, but it's something you can try on for size. Let us know how you think, see a demo, kind of click around, and then if you're not ready for it yet, you're like, I don't have time to learn something new, you don't have to turn it on. You can do things the way that you've always done them, and then eventually we'll roll it out as a new feature and functionality maybe, but something that's in there to turn on. And there's some other kind of experimental stuff in here too that you can test out. So new reconciliation, when I turn that on, everything that's in here has really come from bookkeeper and accountant feedback and advisor feedback that we've heard over time. So I'm very excited about turning it on and trying it out and hearing what you all think of it. So the big thing when you first come in, the look and feel is different. There's two tabs across the top, one for setting up your reconcile and one for history and reports. I'm going to start with history and reports because I think this is where a lot of people, when they first started with QBO, they're going, I want to see more information around what happened with past reconciles. So you know what? I just realized I'm still in this client that doesn't have any. Let me switch back to my other client. I'm sorry, I went into the payments client and have to come out. I'm trying to get one that's all set up, but then what happens is if I have one, I end up accidentally processing like $500 on a card, and people get mad at me. So, well, not that one. Let's switch back.
Someone likes the picture of your plant on there.
Oh, my wallpaper.
Yep.
Okay, hold on. Let me switch companies. It's in my other QBOA. Something that's kind of a quick tip here, if you have multiple QBOAs that you access, you can do the drop down to see the whole list of all your clients and find the one you're looking for. I think it's in here. Yeah, we're going back to the pet shop. Sorry.
No, you're good.
All right.
If we aren't able to answer all the questions, we'll try to post them out later, anyways, on Twitter and maybe like a follow up email or blog post after this too.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome. Um, yeah, this is the first time we're doing one of these, so I wasn't sure if we had too much or not enough stuff to talk about. And sometimes on webinars, everybody's silent, so it's really awesome that you guys are engaged. Okay, so I came into a reconcile. When I go into history and reports and I pull up the bank account that I want to review in the period, I'll see the history of any reconciles that I've done. So I've got just a small handful here. And any changes that have taken place be highlighted not only on this grid, but when I go to view the report, we've got a reconciliation change report now. So that was something that we had a lot of requests for to surface that type of information and have it be available on historical stuff. So I can see the changes that have taken place, original amount, current amount, what the change was, and drill into those transactions. So it looks like somebody perhaps marked this as unreconciled, amount changed, and then my full reconciliation report down below. When I'm going to do a reconciliation, if there's a problem, you're prompted to resolve the discrepancy. And that brings up a reconciliation discrepancy report that you can actually interact with. So not only do you see it in the historical report, you've got that information there, but you also have this nice grid that you can do things within. So looks like this was unreconciled, so I could resolve the fact that that happened. An amount changed. I can view the history to actually see what went on with that transaction. So who added it, who edited it. So this is the audit log information, but the fact that I can get to it right from here I think is awesome. If you use the audit log and you haven't used the compare button, it's my favorite because I can view the changes side by side and have them highlighted and even narrow it to only show the changes.
Okay,
Somebody went in and
why did I
changed
not
that
know
element. You didn't know that? Oh, I love this.
that? I'm like, oh my God, that would save me so much more time.
Yes, right? Okay, see, I'm glad that we're having this call because if you've been using QBO 5 years and you haven't even seen that, like I'm sure that other people are benefiting from getting that. So one of my favorite little buttons in QBO that sometimes goes unnoticed. So I can trace back what happened here, right, and go in and make my changes. For the sake of time, I'm just going to leave it for now, but I could go back and mark that as reconciled and change the dollar amount and all that. But when I'm going through and setting up a new reconcile, it guides me through putting in my ending balance and all that great stuff. I've already done that for this one, so I'm resuming a reconcile that I started already. If I need to go back and make some changes to that, I can click Edit Info, and it'll pop that up, and I can change my ending balance and ending date if I need to. As I'm doing a reconcile, I can also save for later, finish now, or close without saving if I want to start things over. So you'll notice a lot of kind of big changes to the way that this looks and feels. I'm excited about them. So in addition to kind of that new history and reports tab, when I'm in the reconcile itself, I have my payments and deposits up top. It surfaces that difference and it kind of gives you some guidance if I click through that to go through that reconciliation discrepancy and get those things taken care of. We've moved all of the payments and deposits together into one grid, although you can sort between them. So I could click payments to just see the payments, click deposits to just see those, all to see everything together. Filtering has a lot more options than it did in the past, matches up with the filtering in the register itself. So maybe you've got your register open on one monitor and your bank reconcile on the other, so you can kind of go through these things side by side. Yeah, I can write in the text field. I could search by an amount, a memo field, dollar amount, greater than, less than, pretty much anything that I feel like will help me figure out any errors or any problems that I'm having. Um, on the grid itself, there is a small gear where I can decide what columns I want to have show up. So, and if I want this to be more compact or expanded out, so maybe I don't really care about reference numbers or something, can decide what I'd like to show. These icons, they match up what we see when we're in banking. If we click on in QuickBooks or if we're in the register, the kind of 2 square is that it was manually added from the bank feed. If it has a plus in front of it, it was an automatic add from a bank rule. So if you've set up your rules to automatically add transactions straight to the register, something like Netflix, I don't need to review that every time it comes through. I can have it just pop right into the GL. And then as you've added things from the bank feed, they automatically get checked off as in the register is cleared. We know that they happened at the bank. So if you're using your bank feeds and you don't have any weird edits and discrepancies, this should be a breeze, right? Because those boxes will be checked off. And I think that's about it. So that's different because in the old reconcile, those were on the left-hand side. So that's a little different too to kind of get used to. When I click into these and expand out, I get those same details I had before. I can make some adjustments in the moment or go into edit to actually see the transaction. I really like that when I'm in transactions now, this is a little older update, but just something to point out. If there is an online banking match, I can click to expand and see the full details of that, how it was added in. If it was added in with a rule, it'll give me the actual link to the rule to see how that went down. So any questions on the new reconcile? I know we've only got like a couple minutes left, so.
Yeah, there's not really many questions. I know I'm getting more out of you talking through it than me actually. I've gone through it a couple times in the screen, and I'm like, oh, there's a lot more features than you mentioned before. One thing
Oh,
I
cool.
noticed before when I was looking at some today, and on the history reports, it no longer says who did the reconciliation, like what user. So unless I missed it somewhere, but I don't think it's on there like
Let
it
me
used to be.
look. So, oh, and under the action, this is where undo is as well, if you do need to undo a pass. I thought I saw who did it somewhere, but maybe you're right.
Maybe it's at the
I
bottom. Maybe.
I hadn't looked for that. So, since this is still in labs, give us feedback on it. The
Awesome.
feedback in labs is really important because this hasn't been fully launched yet, right? So maybe they took something away because they didn't think people were using it, and let's bring that back. And then, yeah, Kathy, if you email that to me as well, I'll see what I can find out, or I'll follow up. I've taken a note for it. So,
Okay. Well,
cool.
so there's a few. I mean, we only have a minute left. Let me go through a couple of other questions that I kind of missed out throughout the period. Um,
Yeah, and one last thing, the mobile stuff. I don't know if that many people that are on this call are really all that concerned with the mobile things. So I was going to go through screenshots, but for the sake of time, there's posts on the QBO blog, or if you go to the Firm of the Future site and go into like the product updates area, there's some posts that show all the mobile stuff. So if you came for that, or you want to hear more about it, there's some great screenshots. But the biggest thing to keep in mind is we're doing more to surface the status of invoices, to give you notifications around when things get paid, or making it easier to reconcile your bank accounts. So if you've got clients or you yourself use QBO Mobile, we're expanding that a lot so you can do even more on the go. So, all right, I'll let you get through your other questions. I know we're
a little
almost
bit.
out of time here,
We're
aren't
good.
we?
So there's someone asked about the new layout of, I guess, on the invoices, but it goes into, but there's so many requests from users to add items or widen possibilities to invoices. Like in some states, you have to add sales tax. Sorry, I have to show this. Like it's a long question. To shipping costs,
Okay.
which is still not possible, but asked by many users, how can you speed up these requests? Um, I know for me, when there's a lot of something I commented about on someone else's question before too, when there's these extra things that we need for different workflows and stuff, that's where I think apps really do come in. I think QBO
Yeah,
is
yeah.
the great core to it. But you know, when it comes to sales tax or something, an app like Avalara, who's also a sponsor of QBOchat, they have an integration. Well, they'll pick up, and you can have it automatically pick up, you know, the right sales tax on things, and they do the sales tax calculation and then post it into QBO on the invoice for you. Um, so it's a nice little thing. But I think that's usually what happens when you have these like crazy things that you need to do. That's a great way to go to apps.com and find something that would help fix that.
Yeah, yeah, and to echo that, we're as we build out QuickBooks Online more and more. I mean, obviously we're adding updates all the time. Our focus is certainly on all the core accounting needs, and then when you get into those really really specific where it wouldn't be broad, apps are awesome because they can take what we already have and put it on steroids and do things that are very specific types of business needs really well. But that's not to say that we're not going to keep expanding out, but it's certainly something to look for because they're focused on that one piece of functionality they can really solve for so many varieties of needs. So
All right.
Avalara is an awesome example of that. Cool.
And then one thing, when we were talking about the templates, the invoice templates, and changing the company name, someone wanted to point out that she's tried this before. And what happens is when you change the company name, it actually is going to change it on the other templates. She's saying it just doesn't work. Like you have it gives you that function,
What I'm
but it's not working like later on.
What I'm thinking you might want to do, if you're in QBO Plus, you could set up locations because when you set up a new location, it asks you if you use a different title for sales forms. Because I'm guessing that's probably the reason that you would need the company name to be different, is if you've got multiple store numbers or if you've got, like, I don't know, I remember when I was younger, I worked for a gift store and they had one that was like such and such gifts, and the other one was so and so's gifts, and they kind of had that divided out on sales forms and stuff. So this might be something that you want to look into, setting up locations, and then locations are different in QBO, right? We don't have that in desktop. We only have classes, so they're kind of like classes. But the thing with locations is it's one location per transaction, as opposed to classes that are line by line. But I really like that when I set up location, I can say it's a different name, it's a different phone number, it's a different email address, all that kind of stuff. So maybe try that out and see if that works better for you.
Awesome. Well, we're a couple minutes over, so we should go ahead and wrap up. But um, I do want to say, if you guys have any more questions or anything, GoToWebinar does that automatic email afterwards. Feel free to reply to it. It goes back to me anyways. If you have any questions that you need help with, and I can try to send them on and help get answers. Valerie can help me with that. Also, it really does help if you're on Twitter, ask the questions there, because when we see those, we can forward them on or get help from other people a lot faster. And honestly, other people see those questions and it helps them as well. So the last thing I want to say is, someone did ask when's the next webinar, and I honestly do not know. I tested out this webinar idea. We had a whole bunch more attendees than I ever thought we were going to. A lot of interaction on questions, and I love it. So I would love to know from you guys what kind of webinars we should be doing. What kind of stuff do you want to learn, and that sort of thing? Because I know that not everyone is on Twitter, and that shouldn't be our complete platform. So webinars do work at times, and the website we still have there for content. But yeah, I want to know what you guys want to learn, and what was this helpful for you, and anything. Just provide me feedback, Twitter, email, whatever you got. So with that, Valerie, thank you so much. for your
Thank
time.
you. Thank you. I hope this was helpful for everybody, and thanks for keeping me on my toes with some great questions and great things for us to pass along. The more feedback, the more that conversation is rolling, the more we can enhance this product. And it's awesome because it's a monthly subscription, so we can do those updates. It's cloud-based. It's not like you have to wait a whole year or three to buy a new version. So good stuff all the time. So thank you for having me, Kathy. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure, and I did record it, the session, and I hope GoToWebinar worked this time and records it well. Sometimes they don't have the best um, formatting, or I get audio issues or something like that after the fact. But we'll see how the recording is. If it's all good, I'll post it, and we can share it out later. So thank you, everyone, again. And remember, provide me like whatever feedback you got, any questions you got, we're here. So thanks, everyone, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Take care. Bye bye.